Hello and welcome to The Big Fight, a high-profile murder case, lots and lots of media attention, a considerable amount of speculation and conjecture and nightly trials on the news channels, a presumption of guilt, certain amount of character assassination. Yes, this is a story that's all very familiar to us right now, and we've been seeing a lot of this in the last few weeks, especially when it comes to the Indrani Mukherjee and the murder of Sheena Bora. But actually, that's not what I was referring to. I was referring to another case that happened a short while back, where again we had a lot of this taking place. Justice, well, was done of sorts. The parents of Aarushi Talwar have been sent to jail, and that's where they are right now. But a considerable amount of questions still hang open, and recently a book has come out which has again thrown many of them up. And I think one of the reasons why we are discussing this is because this is something that often happens. We have a media trial, we have a lot of attention, and then we all move on. And then after that, nobody ever bothers to go back and say what actually happened in that case. Was justice served or was it not served? Did the press trial and the media trial and the public trial help or hinder the cause of justice? So it's for that reason we are again going back to that one particular case where many questions are still open, and we're going to try and see if we can figure out whether justice was served or was it actually one of the most horrible miscarriages of justice that we have seen in recent years, and one that is still continuing till now. Joining us here, Vandana Talwar, who is the aunt of Aarushi. Thank you so much for joining us. And you have, of course, continued to make efforts to try and draw attention to the fact that there was a miscarriage of justice in this case. And we will be hearing you telling us why you think that happened. Vikramjit Singh, DG Uttar Pradesh Police, former DG, I beg your pardon, and of course somebody who felt that justice was served and the police did a great job there. Aviruk Sen, author who wrote the book Aarushi, which has really brought a lot of attention back here and has reopened many of the questions. Rana Ayub, journalist who feels that this is one of the cases where justice was done and nothing wrong was actually done when the verdict came out. Nalini Singh, somebody else who was associated with it, feels there was a miscarriage of justice and a strong miscarriage of justice, and thinks that she has evidence which will also help substantiate that. And Rajshi Sen, another writer, and we're being joined by Justice B.A. Khan, who is the former Chief Justice of the Jammu and Kashmir High Court. Thank you all so much for joining us. Before I go any further, Justice Khan, just wanted to come to you for one overall point before we come into what happened in the Aarushi case. All of these high-profile cases, whether it is Aarushi, whether it is Indrani Mukherjee, the trial that's taking place and other such cases, do judges get influenced sometimes by what is happening around them? Public perception, public opinion, media trials. Does it influence the course of justice?
They do. Judges are human beings after all. But of late, Vikram, what's happening is that the media trials that are taking place and the hype that media is creating in selective cases is having a disastrous impact on the working of our subordinate judiciary. And most of the judges, we have faced this problem in the Delhi High Court, where our magistrates were reluctant to grant bail even in those cases which were deserving cases because of the media hype or because of the scare or fear that they would invite an accusation tomorrow that since media had decided to hold somebody guilty and we are granting him bail or we are acquitting him.
So you'll be accused, the judge will be accused of having taken money to do it. So let me just ask you, Justice Khan, because I have no idea what you feel about this particular case. In the case of Aarushi, do you think justice was served, or was this one of the cases where the judge, of course, he made up his mind and he made it up for reasons that he's outlined in his judgment very clearly. Do you think justice eventually was served?
This case is still at the preliminary stage in the hierarchy of the court system. Therefore, at this stage, it will be very difficult to say, more so outside the court record, whether a justice has been done to Talwar or has not been done to Talwar.
They're in jail right now.
What we are doing exactly.
They're in jail right now. If they were innocent, but Justice Khan, if I can just ask you, if they are innocent, and if somebody else murdered their daughter and they are in prison right now, even if they will eventually be let off by some appeal in the Allahabad High Court and the Supreme Court 4 or 5 years from now, we cannot say justice was served.
Yes.
Because parents have then spent time in jail for the murder of their daughter if they didn't do it.
No. Vikram, that is how the system works. That is, you'll find, don't you find that cases where after 15 years people have been found innocent and they have suffered jail for 15 years?
That may be how the system serves. That's certainly not justice, though. I mean, Justice Khan. I mean, if that is the way the system works, it's sad.
That may not be a justice according to your perception, but according to the system, which system is sanctioned by the Constitution, that has a hierarchy of courts, and that hierarchy takes care of any errors occurring in a particular judgment or in doing justice at a lower level, and there is a process of rectification which you will not find in any other working. For example, in executive working you will not find this kind of a safeguards provided everywhere. So we have checks and balances, and there might be rare cases where things can go wrong and innocent people may be punished or found guilty, but in the process that thing gets set right somewhere. Now, if there is some time lost between you remain in jail, say for example 15 years, there are remedies to that. I do share your feeling that those 15 years jail can't be compensated later on.
Yeah,
but there are remedies for that also which nobody takes.
Right, Justice Khan. Okay, let me come, Justice Khan, to the rest of the panel on that particular point. Vandana Talwar, there is an appeal which is pending in the Allahabad High Court.
That's right.
Supposing Rupert Talwar and Rajit Talwar are eventually found innocent, would anything ever compensate for what they are going through right now?
How can it compensate? It's been 7 years of the public perception having built in a particular way, having led to the media taking a stand, the investigating agency taking a stand, the judiciary taking a stand, and as Justice Khan has said, that it does influence the judiciary. So we don't know, it's all very speculative. Will it ever happen? Will they be let off from Allahabad High Court? Will they be let off from Supreme Court? We don't know if all the points which were not seen in the Ghaziabad court, how do we know that they're going to be looked at the Allahabad High Court? If the whole thing is anyway going to be based on the perception which was being made, how will the perception change? Unless the media does something, because I strongly believe that it was the media perception. Of course, leaks given by the investigating agencies, but the whole thing is a vicious circle.
I think there was a certain perception that was built up.
Absolutely.
There was a certain perception that was created, and to the extent that some of that data is wrong, and the thing is, we should sit and address it and bring it in front of everybody to say that, look, here are what the real facts of the case are. We'll do that in just a couple of minutes. But let me turn to you, Vikramjit Singh. Some of the steps that were taken, some of the decisions that were taken by the investigating agencies in the Aarushi case are baffling. Pieces of evidence that were submitted, some that were not submitted. You think they did their job perfectly?
Vikram, perception is way different from the ground reality. A police officer is not worth his salt if he's swayed by extraneous considerations and public opinion. I was approached by no other people who could make my careers. And it was, if I had known what was good for me, I would have taken their line, hook, line and sinker. But you are trained in a manner, you may not agree with me, that to do as per you are accountable to your conscience and to the Constitution. These public opinions do not sway. Look, we are not governed by TRPs.
So we
do not go by the TRP. We do not go for a popularity contest. You make a bigger mess of my image. But for all I care, I will do what is accountable only to the court of law.
What you're saying is theoretically absolutely correct. By the way, theoretically speaking, all journalists should be doing their job impartially, sensibly, no hysteria, no sensationalism, and no chasing TRPs.
That is for the journalists.
Theoretically, that's what journalists should be doing. But at the end of the day, that's not what happens. So what you're saying is theoretically correct. That's what the policemen should be doing. In actual ground, are you saying that's what every policeman in the country does?
I would know, but a large percentage of policemen would, because ultimately they are accountable to the court and rule of law.
So
if they were to
you think the investigating agencies, so you think the investigating agencies did a perfectly fine job in the Aarushi case?
I don't think.
From the press conferences that were done 2 days later.
I'm convinced and I'm positive of the fact that they did a beautiful and wonderful job.
Oh, so the press conference that was held 2 days after a 14-year-old girl is murdered, where you have a senior police officer slandering her reputation on television, that was fine according to you?
Did I say that every press conference is representative of
you
all
said
the
they did a
police
wonderful
action?
job. So I'm asking you, was that a wonderful job which he did?
You were
then?
referring to investigation, not Gurdarshan Singh's press conference.
So, all right,
if
fine.
the Gurdarshan Singh's press
Investigation,
conference
fine.
you have in mind, give me
Evidence
the
being
investigation.
mistagged, things being replaced one another. Avirok, please come in and let's set this.
I
Was it a
think,
wonderful
Vikram,
job
you
of
have
investigation?
been reading a lot of fiction here and there, and your website too has NDTV 10 reasons why Avrik would like to believe that Talwars are innocent.
So,
my suggestion to you would be...
Have you ever heard of an investigating case where for a period of days, anybody who wants can walk up and down and in and out of a crime scene, and that's considered fine? 16 months later, testimonies are being changed, and that's fine, and you think it's a wonderful job of investigation at the end of
That
all
is your
that?
perception, Vikram, because I think you have been overfed on what has been given by Avruk and his like. Let me tell you once and for all,
the other side then.
Everything that what you are alleging and everything has been examined threadbare in every court of law. And in spite of the going from lower court to the Supreme Court,
I'm not even coming
you
to
have
justice,
not
I'm talking about the
got a
investigation.
single shred of relief from any court.
Okay, Avirok.
I presume that
hang on. I'm not even questioning the
suppose
evidence, I'm questioning the investigation right now.
Suppose I'm delirious. Suppose I'm delirious.
Perhaps you are.
Have you been given any relief from any court? Live in the world of reality.
I never sought any relief. So, factual problem.
So, you're doing it just for the sake of philanthropy, so to say?
No. I am doing journalism. I mean, I don't want to get into this debate because this is a personal debate he wants to have with me. We can keep that out.
No, nothing personal. I won't. I saw ma'am.
I won't get into that.
There's nothing personal.
You said the investigation was wonderful. It was a great job of investigation. That's all I'm questioning right now.
Investigation was very good. And I would presume, had it not been very good, they wouldn't have got the conviction.
No, that's not necessary at all. I'm asking about the investigation. Sir, if you were reading an investigation, I'm sure you've done wonderful investigations in the past. Would you ever allow your investigating officers to allow people to go in and out through a crime scene, to use toilets whenever they wanted, to not open a terrace door for 3 days later? The investigating officers did a wonderful job in all of this.
You seem to have an overdose of what Aviruk has written.
It's not even with Aviruk.
For 3 days.
Sir, we've covered, the media has covered the story for a long time. I'm asking you facts.
This is nothing what Aviruk has written.
Look, I
was present in that house. They did not open the terrace for 2 days. It was not 3 days, it was 2 days.
I knew I was not going to walk into the Valley of Flowers. I knew brickbats would be coming my way. But I chose to rough it out and face it out.
So I had the option of... This is the TV debate. This is not the Kargil war, sir.
The 3 days and the mess up, the foundation of which was laid by the Talwar themselves. The first, the dressing up, and then spreading the disinformation about Hemraj's dead body, then locking up the terrace door themselves.
So the police, the police is there. They are doing an investigation. It's not the police's job which is doing the investigation to open a terrace door. It is the Talwar's job to tell them how to do the investigation.
Question, Mr. Vikram. I wish you would be a little more practical as a police officer. A basic sub-inspector can tell you that the initial sympathy is that of the person who's the complainant and victim of crime. If the Talwars were presumed to be victims of crime and were the complainant, that what they said at that point of time was the gospel truth. It was at a later point of time we realized that Talwars are mixed up in the whole episode. Therefore, whatever they are saying has to be questioned.
Okay, Aviruk.
I should remind you, Vikram, that none of this stuff is my perception of things. It is actually based on court records, testimonies, and forensic evidence, which are all on file. So what's there in the book, he's complaining about what I'm feeding you. It's a diet of evidence, is what I'm feeding you.
Actually, you're not feeding me anything.
I'm
quite capable of reading myself.
Or any reader for that matter. So, is it all right, you asked a great question, is it all right for forensic reports, for instance, to change 6 times over an investigation? Is that perfect investigation? Is it all right for samples that come in from forensic laboratories with seals to be ripped apart with impunity and then produced in court? Is it all right for an investigating agency like the CBI to create an email ID which says hemraj.jalvayuvihar@gmail.com? They have their own IDs. They have a CBI.nic ID to specifically communicate with the Talwars. Are we talking about a fair investigation? By a perfect investigation, my understanding, Vikram, is that it also must be fair. You can scrutinize and investigate as much as you want, but why would you single
Aviruk, why would they investigate? Okay, now the flip side of it, why would the investigators be out to get the Talwars?
Okay, I've tried to explain this in the book as well. It is not that the CBI or there was some great conspiracy between different agencies. It is just that they were caught in a perfect storm. I'll give you an example. they had a trident of individuals to deal with in this case. Forget the big sort of picture, class, influence, all of those things. These individuals were, one, an investigating officer, Mr. Ejil Kaul, since passed, I mean, my condolences to his family, who had a track record of unscrupulous investigation. It's detailed in my book. This is not the first time he's done it. He has done it in at least 2 other instances.
He's not around anymore.
So, I mean, no, look, there I differ with you perhaps on that, you know. If that's part of record, part of history, I can't hide it either. You then have a forensic scientist, again, a track record of imagining things and then creating scenarios. Established. He's a man who says he can define or he can tell 2 distinct blood spatters on a wall by looking at photographs, as in like it's your blood or my blood. He can tell which one is which just by looking at photographs. 3, you have a judge who has never ever acquitted anybody. When I asked him the question, and his name, by the way.
And in this particular case, according to you, the judgment was written 1 month before.
Not according to me, it's according to the interview of the judge and his son.
If only wishes were horses, I would choose to see what I want to see. Firstly, the 3 things that you have said are jejune, perfunctory and cavalier. Jejune, perfunctory, and you have to classify them.
Sounds a lot like the judgment that was written actually.
Well, we can agree, we will talk about that later. Now, if you really feel serious about the fact that such miscarriage of justice did happen, you had option of going into appeal. You had option of going into lodging an FIR for all those who fudged the accounts, but here you are so helplessly talking about the injustice done to you, and you're shedding tears after so many years. If I were you, I would go to the police, lodge an FIR.
But they're 2 different things.
Sorry.
Has written a book based on investigation.
Don't write
She's
a book.
family
It's like
member.
that I went to fly a kite when this was happening. Please don't fly a kite. And first, your job is to lodge an FIR against me, against everyone who has defaulted.
But the FIR was lodged, sir, on day 1. It is obvious that
Ma'am,
when your daughter, you see, is missing, your domestic help is missing. So then that is what you presume, no? That your domestic help has murdered your daughter and run away. What's so unusual about it?
We are not talking about the murder FIR, about the miscarriage and the manipulation of the forensic records. He has confused you also. We deal with the media, without the media, and in spite of the media. We are pretty thick-skinned, and we are perfectly able to handle ourselves.
That's wonderful, but it still doesn't mean that the investigation was necessarily perfect. Rana, you've looked at this also journalistically and arrived at a totally different conclusion to the one that Avi looked at.
You know, I don't hold a brief, Vikram, for any of the cops here, and I famously disagreed with Mr. Singh on most of the shows. I'd be the last person to be defending most cops in most investigations. But in this particular case, I agree with Mr. Khan when he said that this was a selective media trial. Why were we discussing Aarushi? Like why we are discussing Indrani Mukherjee right now? Because they come from high-profile families. You know, they have this baggage. Let me start with the caveat that I was asked to investigate this case by the organization where I was working, and I was told, you know, take a humanitarian angle on this case. And I said I cannot take a humanitarian angle on this case because I have seen every possible bit of document in this case, every possible bit of FIR. So I am not going to be the voice of the Talwars here. I think justice was done in this case precisely from going from the point of the documents that I have seen, the investigating officers that I was privy to, my conversations with them. As far as the press conference went about, let me tell you, some of the most brilliant investigations have been botched up by pompous police officials who want to go and say things and go say sensational things about women. Nobody's trying to justify the slandering of Aarushi Talwar, like nobody's trying to justify what we are doing to Indrani Mukherjee today. That's the unfortunate part of most investigations, but that's how it is. That's how justice system is.
But you feel at the end, so we'll come to the evidence in a couple of minutes. Because I do want to. Let's just get it out in the open right now and see why is it that you think that they're guilty, and we'll see why others think that they're not guilty. So let's come to that. Nalini Singh, your take on this.
Very quickly, 2 things. Rana Ayub has just said that when she spoke to investigating officers, they gave her a version. This is what I'm saying is happening. Journalists are working symbiotically with the police. So the narrative that goes out is the narrative of the prosecutors. So I think we should remember that. Now, and Justice Khan, who gave such a lucid admission that judges are human. But now let me come to this. Mr. Vikram Singh has said that, or we know, 48 hours after the murders were discovered, we had a press conference in which the honor killing aspect was delineated absolutely clearly in a 45-minute press conference. It was amazing. That was on May 18th, 2008, approximately, or May 19th. in July, please listen carefully to what I'm saying. In July, first of all, I do not know the Talwars at all. I have no idea. I found Mr. Rajesh Talwar here, and I thought he was, no, Mr. Dinesh Talwar, and I thought he was Rajesh Talwar. So I had no idea here at NDTV. So the conference is on May 18th. In July, I have a visitor in my office in Connaught Place, and the attendants tell me it's CBI. CBI comes in, I ask for an ID card, and I'm satisfied that it is Sub-Inspector Anuj Arya. I'm giving the name even today. Anuj Arya, I asked him to sit down when I see this thing, and he said, ma'am, it's very serious. Please don't take phone calls and don't let anybody come into the room. I said, shut the door. So after that, he said, this is July. He said, what was playing on your channel? We have a Nepali channel called Nepal 1. What was playing on Nepal 1 on the intervening night of 15th and 16th May at between 11:45 and 12:15 or some such time, PM to 12:15 AM.
Right.
So I told him that I have no idea. Allow me to call for the file. I think it was a program called Rock Hits, which is a back-to-back song thing, and after that there's Hello Nepal, which is a pre-recorded program, which is a repeat. And he said, all right, call for the file. I called for the file, and there we get, even up to today, the playlist from Kathmandu. So for the 15th, we had a playlist, and I didn't even look at it. I said, here is the playlist. Let me get a photocopy for my records. Here's the playlist. Please now believe me. He said to me, ma'am, was this a song which has the lines Ama, Ama, etc. playing at this time, this second song? I said, how would I know? Look, I'm a North Indian, so do you appear to be. I don't know Nepali that well. Allow me to call the producer. He said, all right, call the producer. The producer is still alive today. He's still with us. Producer said to me, he's in Darjeeling just now, but anyway, he said to me that I don't remember, then let me play this. Now we played the tape, and he came back, and I said, before he came back, I said, I'll give you a dub of the entire thing. You take the channel, our dub of this program. I don't have anything to say or hide. So this producer came back and said, yeah, Ama Ama was in this song. So I said, now you tell me what you're doing here. He said, now everything, now the proof we wanted is here, because, please listen again carefully, one of the persons in the narco test, inadmissible in court, hummed these lines for us, saying that Hemraj, Krishna Kumar, Vijay Mandal and Raj Kumar, these four were in Hemraj's room drinking, and there was a Nepali channel playing, and this was the song that was playing, and he hummed it on air. Now you can say they were listening to it somewhere else. You can say that there were some. What I'm saying to you is, he said it's all done. Now this is the evidence we were looking for.
Were you called to testify to this?
No.
Were you called as a witness?
No, but
did the police ever come to you and ask you to substantiate
this?
Not
at all. But I did. Anuj Arya gave me his mobile number. He gave me his mobile number. I called after 2 or 3 days. I saw the whole story going another way. There was no answer. There was switched off. I called the landline number. It was CBI. After that, I thought that, now maybe it's too secret and one should not talk about it. But finally, I ran into the CBI director, Mr. Ashwini Kumar. And I said to Mr. Ashwini Kumar, sir, our tapes have also gone to you. And he looked the other way. He said, yes. So I said, then if you ever want assistance from us, don't you? He said, well, what's the assistance? There can only be 3. Now look at the order in which he said it. And I can confront Mr. Ashwini Kumar today. He said it can be the parents, it can be some outsider, or it can be the servants. So I knew that they had already made up their minds when he said it in this order. Okay. And then after that, I wrote a letter when it was coming to the outcome last year to the CBI director.